And keep your applause going as you welcome our next storyteller, Elizabeth Cambridge.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hello. Hello. Do you guys like my English accent now? No, it's bad. It's bad. But it's my go-to. It's something I love doing accents. I love mocking people. That's really what I like to do. I've always loved doing this. This is my favorite thing to do. And I'm kind of like a parrot. Like if I'm around anyone for too long, I'll start like talking like them, which is so weird, but I will do it. So with all of that being said, and being second generation Jamaican, you would think Jamaican would be my first go-to. That would be my go-to, but it is not. It is not. I feel like a fraud. I feel like a fraud if I were to do like a Jamaican accent. It's weird coming out of my mouth, so I've never done it, but I've always wanted to. Always. Growing up in my grandmother's house with like all 15 of us. My mother's side of the family, all Jamaican. My dad's side, African American. But I grew up mostly with my Jamaican mother and all of her siblings. Living in this house, all of us, and it was awesome. It was awesome. Every day, the smell of my grandmother cooking, like frying up, sauteing up onions and peppers. It was amazing. Like the beginning of every Jamaican Caribbean dish. And it was great, and seeing them all at the table, like eating and talking and speaking in Patois, mostly talking about like African Americans mostly and their experiences with them, or trading these like war stories of my grandfather. My grandfather was Rastafarian man. He was a tall, intimidating looking man with a big, booming, deep voice. And my family was afraid of him. He was the disciplinarian. I hear all of these stories about him. I remember one story in particular. They had a farm. And my mother's job was to close the gate, lock the gate up. She did not do this one night. And one night she was awoken with a beating from the flat side of a machete. Yeah, this was normal. This was normal. Beatings all the time. He was just intimidating. Like because of the Rastafarianism, they had a very specific diet. They were vegetarian, and they were not allowed to wear certain things. They were not allowed to wear pants, no makeup, no like pressing your hair, everything natural. And they were known as like the spiritual, like the religious weirdos at school, because this was like in the 70s, and while everyone is like wearing their bell bottoms with their hair all like nice and permed, like, you know, my mother was walking to school with like, you know, really long dresses and like 2 fat cornrows that just, you know, it wasn't the best. And they were afraid of him. I remember another story she told me at 16, walking down the street, hand in hand with a young man. And I remember my mother saying, like, it felt like my granddad was everywhere at the same time, like everywhere all the time, okay? Somehow, he is driving past, sees this, stops the car, opens it up, and proceeds to beat her right in the middle of the street. In front of everyone. Those are in the car, cousins are out on the way home. He was so intense, but they loved him. They had so much love and respect for this man. He was so mean. Not only was he like beating them, but he was beating my grandmother. You know? This was like, you know, all day. But when he was good, he was great. You know, he would like put on some reggae music and dance with them around the house. When it was their birthday, we'd pick them up from school and like have this dinner date only with them, with that person. And that was like amazing to them. And I remember like getting phone calls as a little kid and like trying to talk to him. Like my mother and my aunts, I can understand them. They've been in the States for like 20 years. I get that. I can pick up on that. But my grandfather, it was so thick. The accent was so thick, and like he would try to connect with me, and the conversations would always go, "Oh, hey, Grandpa, yeah, school, what? I don't, what? Yeah, it's good, yeah, what? Okay, all right, okay, bye," and like run away from the phone. And that was always so embarrassing because I was like, oh, I'm not a real Jamaican. I'm not a real Jamaican. So cut to 16. I'm 16 years old, and at the age of 65, my grandfather dies. He's gone, stroke. And I remember my mother said, "The mighty has fallen." Finally. This guy, my grandfather was like this mythical like creature. Like they never really thought he was gonna ever like really go away. Like ever. So I remember that was like a big thing. And she didn't want to go. She didn't want to see my grandfather, this tough and rough man laying in a casket. So I went in her place. Going to Jamaica. This was going to be awesome because I thought, because of my mocking skills, maybe I'd go there and be around enough and like soak it up and like, and I'd become a real Jamaican. Maybe like something would bite me and I would like have the accent. Awesome. And I was so excited to go to Jamaica. And guys, like, it felt almost like a vacation. It almost felt like a vacation. We got there, we checked into the hotel, all inclusive. Every day we got up in the morning and we ate, and my aunt took me around to Montego Bay and showed me the house my mother grew up in. All of them grew up in this big yard my mother would brag about all the time, running barefoot, and the mango trees and picking up mangoes. They were so juicy. All this bragging about homeland, whatever. And I got to see this, and this is like amazing. And it was beautiful. Like the air was sweet, it was different, it was just like hilly and just beautiful. And the children, their accents were so, it was effortless for them. Like it was beautiful. It was like so sing-songy, like up and down, up and down. And I remember being envious of those children. Like I wanted that. They were real Jamaicans. And it felt, again, like a vacation, almost, until the funeral. We get to the funeral, and I finally get to see this man, my grandfather, this man that I heard all these like stories about, laying in this casket. Still intimidating, like still huge. But he seemed, I remember looking at him and thinking he looked empty, like just void of something, just empty. This like long salt and pepper thick beard and this huge salt and pepper afro which he refused to cut for years, never. And I remember like family gossip of like they could have cut his hair for the funeral. They could have cut his hair. My grandfather wasn't having any of that, never. And I almost didn't cry, almost, until I saw my aunts, who are these strong women, one by one, break down as they stood in line to like say their final goodbyes to my grandfather, like one by one, just body and soul breaking down. And I started to cry, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop crying. I just felt so many things at once. Like, who was I? Like, why was I here? I'm in my mother's, like, what am I don't, just kind of confused. And never getting to know this, like, mysterious, like, scary, powerful man. And so that was it. We packed up after the funeral, and we went back to the States. And I gave up on this, whatever, this dream of like getting bit and like being a real Jamaican, whatever. I figured like that was done. And I went home and I talked to my mother about it. And she's like, whatever. Elizabeth, Beth, or Pookie is what she would call me. You're Jamaican. Okay, just you're Jamaican. You got Jamaican blood, I'm Jamaican blood, you're Jamaican. And I kind of like tried to like, I took that with me for a while, but like growing up, having the name of Elizabeth, like being me was always like difficult. Like I was never like black enough for people, like I'm not Jamaican enough, like what, you know, so many expectations and always trying to please everyone with like the way that I talk and like and dancing and like what I listen to and what I watch and like, oh my God, like can I just be me? I'm Elizabeth, like Jesus Christ. And having to like grow up and reconcile with all of these different expectations and personalities and whatever. And I've done that, and I've done that, and I've done the work on myself. And I just turned 30 in April. Yay me, yay. And so I don't have kids, I'm like not married, and someone was like, well, why don't you just leave? Just go travel, go do something, go. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna go to Jamaica. Maybe I can try this again. And I can go and be bitten and become a real Jamaican. So I decided, I signed a 4-year lease. In November, I'll be going to Jamaica. I'm gonna live there for a couple, I don't know how long. I'm excited and I'm scared, and I'm mostly scared of like rejection. I don't know, but I'm excited. I don't know, and I'll never do a Jamaican accent ever on stage. I don't know. I can't reconcile it. So until then, until November when I go, I will stick to doing my like horrible English accent in the privacy of my room. Thank you.